Welcome back to the Intuitive Mentor Mom podcast, where we explore strategies for practicing more self-love, gratitude, and finding new ways to empower ourselves in this ever-changing healing adventure of life happening for us. I'm your host, Tara Michelle. Let's get started. Welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for joining us here. I'm excited to be with all of you this week and to dive in what I was sharing last week or the last couple weeks ago was how we're going to be talking about playing on the court of life and what it looks like to play full out on the court of life. And playing on the court of life, we have different facets, or I'll say different quadrants, one might say quadrants of life, where you've got health and well-being, you have finances, you have household, you have children, you have, or we could say parenting and children. We could say family. What else can we say? Spirituality, your connection to self or your connection to God, self-love, self-care. There's all these different areas of being on the court of life. This has come up because I have a dear friend. We laugh and we joke. We were joking about it today, how we play full out in the court of life, on the court. And when I think of myself, or when I think of us in the world, people playing full out on the court of life, I always see it as a basketball game. I see it as a big basketball court, and there's myself in the center. I've got the ball, or sometimes I may not have the ball. And there are other players on the court with me. Sometimes we're passing the ball back and forth. Sometimes somebody's keeping the ball. I'm trying to get the ball, or maybe I'm not open, or they pass to me. I missed the ball. And then there's all the people on the sidelines watching the game. What I've always envisioned when I think about playing full out on the court of life, because there have been many times where I've been sitting on the sidelines. And then there's other aspects of my life where I'm full out, full court press, playing the game of life. And when doing that, there were many times in my life where I had this very tra-la-la view of how life would be when I was a young person. Like, life will turn out just like this. I'll live here, I'll have that, and da 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 da. And then life happens, right? You can wake up and recognize that when you're playing full court press, when you are really playing life, it can be really messy at times. You're running up and down the court. The score is tied, it's high, depending on if you're on offense or defense. Like, just imagine the speed of a basketball game. I'm not sure if any of you watch basketball. I used to be a big basketball follower. I don't follow it anymore. It's such a funny thing when there's not a quote unquote like partner man in the house. I don't watch sports, although I love sports. Is that the funniest thing? Like, I love to go to games, love to watch them, but I won't watch them on my own. I won't just sit down. I shouldn't say it. Sometimes I do. Like, I've turned on a few of like Alabama and UT, okay, something like that. Like, I'll put on a big game, or I'll watch the Super Bowl, um, or the playoffs or something, the NBA playoffs. I'll do something like that, but I don't typically turn sports on. But I always envision life like this high speed, high chase basketball game, and I'm on the court, and my knees are sometimes bloody. The score is high. Sometimes I'm down, you know? And I want to talk about that. And I want to talk about it in a few different areas over the next few weeks. The one area I do want to focus on, because I think it's so important, is self-love and self-care. Self-love and self-care are really special and really important. And I think something as any mom can relate to is so necessary and so key when doing your best to be the best that you can be for your children. So I want to dive into self love, but one of the things I want to do today is I want to put my ass on the line because what I'm up against, and I do believe this has a connection to self love, is recognizing and being aware that as a parent and as a mother, as a single parent, I am very much deep in the state of overwhelm. And what that looks like in my life, and let me know really if this resonates for any of you. And I've been in the state of overwhelm for a while. I'll say really probably the last 90 days. I can probably certifiably say I am in the state of overwhelm. And I'm trying, no, not trying. I've been avoiding it. What overwhelm looks like in my world is the house doesn't get cleaned. There's clutter everywhere in my mind. Some people come over and they're like, your house is never messy. I'm like, oh, it's messy. Don't go into my bathroom. Maybe the kitchen and the dining room and the living room look clean, but don't go into any other rooms because you'll see piles, you'll see dust, you'll see things everywhere. And I know it takes me a while to recognize when I get there. But when I start looking around and I see that I'm not putting things away, it's a trigger for me like, oh man, am I in overwhelm? And it'll take me a while to recognize it. But then like I'll putter around the house and I'll put some things away and I'll do some things, you know? But I'm going to admit I'm deep in a state of overwhelm. My closet keeps filling with things, yet I'm not removing things. I'm removing some things, but not all the things. So what that means is I'm purchasing things. Like I start to buy things to fill some kind of void that I'm not wanting to look at within me. I will get really tired. I will get unmotivated. I will have a lack of inspiration. What else does my overwhelm look like? I wrote some things down here. You know what I wrote down? Fear embers. Like imagine a fire, you know, the embers of a fire that starts to occur in my gut, but it's fear. Like it's like a fear fire starting to build up in my gut, like a feeling, an energetic feeling. And I call it embers because it's a slow, low, quiet burn. It's not yet overtaken me, but it's starting to it's starting to rise up. Okay. So fear embers. And over the last couple weeks, I've been calling one of myself like, oh yeah, I'm definitely in a state of overwhelm. And I'm not doing a lot about it. Well, I am doing some things. I'm recognizing it. And I'll go to take action, but then I stop myself. And there's fear there. Where mine is coming from is the fear of the lack of income coming in. So, if any of you have listened to earlier episodes, you know I was laid off earlier this year, and then I then got this role that I have right now. And there was aspects and elements of it looking really good, only to learn it's not as good as I hate to say as I was told. I hate to say that because there's something about me not taking ownership of that. But the structure in which has been handed to us on the commission side is not at all easily attained. Not at all. It is almost unattainable. And that has created levels of fear embers to start to burn or bubble in my gut. I would say that's at the root and the source of the overwhelm, because it's as if I can see it out there, right? Like I know, like when I see it happening, I'm like, oh shit. But rather than face it head on, I'm going to recognize that I didn't face it head on in the moment that I started recognizing. Instead, I went to a place of frustration, anger, pointing the fingers outward instead of pointing them right back at me. I'll own that for sure. Now, it doesn't mean that the goal is still attainable. It's attainable, but not in the time frame in which not in the time frame in which we're given. It's just going to take time. It's going to take longer to grow the territory and to have the reimbursements, because I'm set up on a revenue pay structure. If any of you are familiar with insurance billing, it takes a while for insurance billing and reimbursements to come through. So even if so basically you're getting paid in arrears. Like even though you're producing the volume of numbers, that that payment isn't going to come for a while because it takes time for them to then bill the insurance companies and get the reimbursement. So that has been a daunting, frustrating piece in my life over the last 90 days of really recognizing, oh shit, and what that means for the rest of my year. What that then triggered was this aspect of me where I go into the procrastination mode. There's something about, and I'm just gonna kind of work through this here, y'all, because even getting on to record an episode today was tough for me because I'm really in it. I'm deep in it right now. And here's what I know about who I am. Who I am is a badass. Uh, not like a badass with an ego, but like a badass. Like I know that I will figure shit out. I figure shit out. That's what I do. I just figure shit out. And sometimes I have to give myself a really swift kick in the ass to make shit happen because I get in this state of overwhelm. And I can even feel the block right now. The block right now, what it feels like in my gut, and it actually made me cry, feels like it doesn't want to tell me it doesn't want to show me the blind spot. It does not want to show me the blind spot, because if my ego shows me the blind spot, that means that this way of being, that means that this strategy that I had at some point in my life created as a child, I created the procrastination or the overwhelm as a way and an excuse to get out of, operating at a certain level because there was some kind of survival mechanism attached to it. Like I got to survive this situation. Like my ego doesn't want me to see that. Because if I see it, then it doesn't get to play anymore. It doesn't get to be the thing that blocks me anymore. It doesn't get to be a strategy that's used. And this is what it looks like for me, at least. I can't speak for any of you out there, but this is what it looks like when I really am on the court of life. I look at my shit in a way that's really uncomfortable. And I didn't know what I was going to talk about this week, but I guess this is it because it's real for me, the overwhelm. And so one would say, okay, well, what is overwhelm for you, Tara? Well, overwhelm is, you know, when you may not have, let's see, the means are above what's coming in, okay? Because the previous job provided me a really great income. This job was supposed to do that, and it's just going to take longer. It can still do that. That is if they don't change the goals too drastically. That is if they don't keep setting the goals to where they're never attainable, which I worry that might be the case, because of other things going on within the company. But and then I hear people say, well, just go get another job. Well, yes, if it were that easy, absolutely. Absolutely. Who wouldn't do that if it were that easy? And as we all know, it's a tough job market right now. Different conversation. So I'm not going to go into that. And I am working on some things on the side. We'll see what happens. We'll see what opens up. But let me get back to what I was saying is that in the state of overwhelm, what comes up for me is like, as a single person, I'm managing a teenager, a teenage boy who's really rocking and rolling into his hormones. And boy, that's an interesting place. Like we could have a whole episode just on the meanness of teenagers. And all of a sudden it's like, who the fuck, who the, what? What did you just say to me? Like, who the hell are you? You know? Um, so that's a piece of life. There's the mortgage, the household. And as I talked about in my single parent heavy, the heaviness of being a single parent, there's the whole mortgage, the whole nut, right? The whole household that has to be managed from a fiscal point of view. And just, like, let's not even talk about the money that needs to come in. Let's just talk about that you got to make sure you pay all the bills on time, and you got to make sure you got all the bills, whether they're on auto pay or not, it doesn't matter. Like, you got to think about all the bills, right? All the bills all the time. And then you've got, you know, animals if you have pets, and you got to manage those schedules, and then you have to manage your children's schedules if they're playing sports, if and not to mention, what's really important to me is really being there for my son right now with grades and moving through middle school, and making sure that he's not just skating by, that he's feeling good, that he's feeling confident, that he's feeling empowered to achieve and attain that which he is asked to do, because another dear friend of mine who reached out to me this last week, which was amazing. I hadn't spoken to this person in like 7 years. It was so great to talk with them. Um, and we just went there. We just went deep in the conversation. But we were talking about, setting our kids up so that life may be tough on the front end because they're doing all the work, they're putting in all the time, they're putting in all the dues. But so that when they get to, say, my age, they're skating through, relaxing. Maybe they're still doing some things, working on things, achieving, attaining, but it's not in this place where they're having to build, 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 build. Like, I'm still in a building phase, for God's sake. I'm still in a building phase. That's not what I want for my son. I want him to be like in the coasting phase at this age. And what that means is I need to be there for him right now. Like, I've always been there for him, but I feel and I can see that he's needing me newly to really help him hone and practice and sharpen those skills of, achievement, attaining, like putting in the extra effort, and what that does on the back end, and how you feel about yourself when you put in that effort, right? Um, Another part of the overwhelm in my life is dating. Dating can be daunting, not daunting, but it's a lot of work. Uh, to put myself out there, to be in the dating space, to be in the dating world, it takes energy and it takes time. And it takes me having to redirect my attention, and that could add to my overwhelm. Making sure that my health and fitness are in check. Health and fitness is a huge thing. Moving through menopause, on the other side of it, but there's still like managing and navigating how my body feels, how my body looks to me. I'm not worried about how it looks to anybody else, honestly. It's like how it looks to me and how I feel in it and how it feels. Am I achy or do I feel good today? And I have this knee situation that I'm still managing and navigating, and I'm trying not to get surgery on it, but there are things like that. So I also think about, oh, there's items I need to return that I haven't returned. There's items I need to mail to a friend that I keep telling her I'm going to mail to her. There's all these little things that begin to add up, stack up, don't get done. And then I recognize that I'm just skating by. I'm just getting the bare minimum of things done. And I'm exhausted by the end of the day. And I will often, in this state of overwhelm, not feel like I've accomplished much, not feel like I've attained much, that I'm just surviving and treading water. And I'm treading water not lightly, like I'm treading water to save my life because the shark is coming. That is what overwhelm feels like. And what I'll do is I will tend to continue to distract myself with things that aren't really necessary. Um, Another thing that just popped in my mind, I have an acre of property. There's a lot of work to do out in my property. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of projects here at this house that can be done. But instead of focusing on the projects, I'll do things like I'm going to go to a concert. I'm going to go to a festival. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that. Like I will notice that I'm wanting to do things outside of my space to escape that which I don't want to look at here. When the truth is, I love being here, love my home. It's beautiful, love it here. It's so peaceful. We love it. But when I'm not focusing on that and I'm looking to be outside of that, those are all signs for me that something's going on. So I want to get back to, the point of this and hopefully not make this episode too long but I really wanted to get on here and talk about this because I'm up against it right now. I'm talking about being on the court of life. What it looks like for me when I'm on the court of life, and maybe this might look like for some of you listening, like what does it look like being on the court of life? Are you playing full out? Are you skirting by certain situations? Are you choosing to look under the rock and figure out what's really going on? What's really going on? And that's where I'm at right now, is I've been asking God literally every day. One of the things I always say, and I might have said this on other episodes, is show me the truth of myself and show me the truth of others. Well, God has gotten really good at showing me the truth of others. I recently went on an amazing date. He just walked up and just unloaded, unloaded. And I was like, well, okay, I'm listening. I got this. I'm listening. And he told me all kinds of truth about himself, which was beautiful. Beautiful. He's a beautiful soul. Such an awesome dude. Love this guy. He's so much fun. Great guy. But we also chose that, there were pieces of what we were both wanting that wasn't a total fit. And so that was that. Moving on. But it was really beautiful. It's really beautiful. He's an incredible soul. But I also started recognizing this week, like, although I'll say, show me the truth of myself and show me the truth of others, I often don't always look at myself's truths. So I was like, like, thank you for always telling me the truth of others, showing me the truth of others. But what about mine? Am I really looking at my truth? Am I really being honest with myself about things? Am I really seeing the truth of who I'm being right now? And what I recognize is who I'm being is in a complete state of overwhelm, not managing things at the level that I like to manage them, and not managing them at the level of what I would say could move me to the next level of success. What I also just heard in my mind is that's not the truth, because there are things that I'm creating and I'm absolutely moving things to the next level. Absolutely. And I need to recognize that. So I'm going to say out there, for those of you, when you find that you're saying negative things to yourself, like, I don't want to say I was beating myself up by any means, but when I'm saying, oh yeah, you're not doing all that you can be doing to move to the next level, that is so not true. I absolutely am. But I'm also aware that the space that I'm in right now doesn't feel like it. And I know that there are things going on in the background. We all must remember that things are going on in the background. I just saw boredom. Okay. Boredom came up. Boredom is also something I've been struggling with and grappling with. And it is inside of this space of overwhelm. Like Like I'm bored with certain things. Like I'm bored with food logging. I'm bored with my workouts. I'm bored with my life looking the way it looks in this particular stage of life. Like I want something exciting and I want something to really open up. Ooh, ah, like I want some big like shift. It's like, do you really? Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't. But what I know is that there are things that are aligning in the background. I even find that I'm bored with dating. And you know what it is? I'm just, okay. I'm so glad I'm sharing all this with all of you today. And thank you and bear with me. It's showing me that I'm at a particular stage in conversations where I just have to keep doing what there is to do. I'm in that gap. Remember from the very first episode, the gap of life? I'm in a gap, a big one. It's like encompassing all areas of my life. And there is an aspect of uncertainty, there's an aspect of fear, and there's an aspect of boredom. And what there is for me to do is to keep doing exactly what I know to do. And I'll use this as the example: keep food logging, keep doing the same workouts. If you want to change it up, add a bike ride or add some rowing or go for a run, but keep doing the workouts, you know, keep doing the things I got to do with my son. In the realm of dating, I mean, I could turn dating off. I could, or I could just keep allowing myself to be open, not have a whole lot of expectation, just keep moving, just keep doing what you know to do. And it's almost as if you need to really master the structures that are in place for each of those things and balancing them. And maybe that's what's missing for me, is the balance of all of those structures. One of the things that always helped me when I recognize that I'm in this state is, for one, taking a deep breath and just like giving myself the space and grace to just be okay. Like, you're okay, Tara. It's going to be okay. But to write down all the things that I know I need to do that I haven't done yet. And that even like washing the dogs, bathing the dogs, mailing this item that I've been meaning to mail to my friend for months, returning a couple of articles back to a couple items back to Amazon that, are just sitting on my counter, cleaning my house, like really cleaning it, dusting, vacuuming, mopping, not spot cleaning, clearing out all the clutter in every room and taking it to the Goodwill. I keep saying I'm going to sell stuff on Facebook because I love Facebook Marketplace and I sell a shit ton of stuff there, but I just don't have the time right now. I'm in a state of overwhelm. Like, the last thing I need to do is to try and take pictures of all this stuff and then create ads and like, oh, no, just take it to the Goodwill, girl. Just take it to the Goodwill. When I take the time to write down all the things that I know I have to do that I'm avoiding, that removes it out of my brain and it puts it on a piece of paper. And it allows me, oh, well, can we add the budget? Budget, Tara, budget. That's the big avoidant right there. And if any of you are Dave Ramsey fans, God, love Dave Ramsey. That man, as a matter of fact, I need to start listening to him again. He has saved my bacon so many times throughout my life. I listen to that man, I'm like, oh God, get back on track with that, Tara. That's the big thing. If I'm dealing with money and freaked out by money, hello, start budgeting. But I'm like, no, just avoid it. Just avoid it. It'll go away. No, it won't go away. It won't go away, Tara. Like telling myself, won't go away, girl. So back to what are the things that I do? I write down a list. And then I take that list and I start marking one thing off at a time. And literally and viscerally in my body, I will feel the lift. I will feel the shift. And I will feel the lightness and the burden removed. And then doors begin to open. Integrity is back in place. And my life begins to move with a level of rigor and flow. And it's like the floodgates open. And as I sit here and share all this with you, I'm thinking, girl, why the hell haven't you done that? And it's literally because when overwhelm occurs for me, I freeze like a deer in headlights and I want to do nothing. So when I recognize that I am in a state of overwhelm, what there is for me to do is to recognize that I'm frozen, that I'm stalled, and that I'm stopped. And then what there's for me to do is do not beat myself up. Don't beat myself up. Like, what's that going to do? It's not going to do anything. The first thing I have to do is pick up the pen, put it on paper. And then the next thing I have to do is start marking it off, start doing it. So I wanted to be crazy wild honest with where I'm at today because life is real and this is what it looks like for me to be on the court. And right now, there's a lot of dirt and dust and obstacles on my court because I've been in a state of overwhelm. And the obstacles are just things like things that need to be removed off of my to-do list and things that I just haven't felt like doing, you know, and I'm going to do them. And what that will shift and open up for the next episode, we'll see. Because I really want to dive into self-love. But this is what self-love looks like for me. What can it look like for you? Self-love looks like for me, and being on the court looks like, let's discover what's going on, Tara. Let's really take a look at the truth of you, like what really is happening. And why do you feel uncomfortable? And where is that discomfort coming from? And what are you going to do with it? That's what it's about. So being on the court of life looks like it's a game and it may feel like work. And there are times when absolutely you got to dig in and do the work. Like you just got to do it because nobody's going to do it for you. I guess somebody could do it for you. But in my case, I got nobody here to do it for me. I'm going to have to do it. I'm going to have to own up, pull my big girl panties on, stop my moping around and my rolling around in overwhelm, and get some things marked off my to-do list and begin to recultivate that experience of inspiration and motivation and really dissolving the space of fear. There is nothing to fear. Like let's get back to the root of where this all came from. There is nothing to fear in the area of my career or my finances. Fear is false events appearing real. Fear means I'm stuck in a future projected concern or worry, and I'm throwing that out there on the illusion of my life. Remember, we talked about the illusion of your life. And I just threw that out there and muddied up the space. And that's okay. I'm human. That's what happens sometimes. The human design will do that. The human brain will do that. It's designed to keep you safe and to keep you from dying. And that's what in our, world today, we're not running from saber-toothed lions or tigers. We're now running from, the tax man and the bill collectors. Right? So that's it. That's what sparks my fear. That's what gets those embers burning is when something gets tweaked in my experience of financial gain and poses a threat to the situation. And the only one that's going to change that and get myself out of that is going to be me. So, there's this part of me like, okay, so what do you want to leave them with? I mean, I guess that's it. Like, this is just real shit. I'm on the court today, y'all. I'm on the court. I'm always on the court, but this time I'm really on the court. And I hope you can, hear something for yourself and allow something to resonate for you. But this is what it looks like for me today, is that I'm on the court and the shit feels heavy. And I have been rolling around in overwhelm. And what I'll commit to doing is writing down my list of all the things I know I got to get done that I haven't been doing. And I'll get them marked off my plate. And one of the things is I went ahead and requested time off, because as a single full-time parent, I have to request time off to sometimes take care of my life, because weekends are filled with crazy, like all kinds of other things. Like, when did weekends become just the days that you get caught up on all the things you didn't get to do over the week, right? There's no freedom in that, but it's the reality of the kind of world we're living in right now. Can we change that world? We can. Am I committed to the change and the transformation of that world? I am. And what it looks like and where it starts is with me. So this week I had to look at my overwhelm. I had to get real with my fear. I have to look at all the things I'm up to and all the things I'm not up to. I have to reprioritize what's important to me. But most important is put it all down on paper. Stop having it live in my head. My head is already full. You ever feel that? You ever feel like your head is already full? Like, how in God's name do we put any more in our heads than we already do? It's crazy. It's wild how much information we hold in our heads. And at some point, you have to release it. You have to let it go. I will leave it there. And I want to thank all of you for joining me on this journey, joining me on this ride. I hope there was something that I've shared today that triggered, any resonance for you. Not resonance, but just triggered some new thought process or perspective for yourself, so that you could take a look at your life and what does it mean to be on the court of life for you? What does it mean to play hard? What does it mean to, really win the game called life? And what does winning even look like for you? For me, winning feels like peace, bliss, freedom, expression. I just heard sensuality and sexuality, like all of that. When I feel like I'm winning in life, I feel all of that. I feel peace, love, joy. I feel expressed. I feel sensual. I feel sexual. I'm just going to admit that. Yeah, bring it. I feel really amazing when I feel I'm winning the game of life. And when I'm not, I feel a little up against it, get a little overwhelmed, got to look around the court and say, oh my God, who's open? I think I need to pass the ball. Who's open? Or are they passing it to me? Or where's the ball? I got to shoot the ball. Where am I going to shoot it? Like all those things. It's like, yeah, where are you in the game, Tara? Are you passing, shooting? Are you open? Where are you? Get focused, get clear, get back in the game. When I say life's happening for you, not to you, it's happening for all of us. And when you're on the court of it, you got to get in. So I'm going to leave you with that. Until next week, the next episode, I just want to thank all of you for joining me. I feel honored and blessed to be with you, those of you listening, and just thanks, and have a beautiful rest of your weekend. See you soon. Thank you for coming on this healing adventure today. If you're starting to see how everything is falling into place for you, consider rating the show and sharing it with one of your friends. Keep that spirit alive and join me next week, same place, same time. Have a great week.